Hello everyone, my name is Shotaro Agatsuma from University of Tsukuba. Today, we will talk about this topic. Currently, various tactile displays have been developed and a lot of applications that enable users to touch virtual objects. Many kinds of display methods were proposed, for example, winding threads, electrostatic vibration, voice coil model, ultrasonic vibration, and so on. However, it is difficult to reproduce tactile sensations that make users feel like touching real objects. Reproducing the physical phenomena of acts of touch is a difficult problem to solve. One of the reasons why solving this problem is difficult is that acts of touch are affected by numerous conditions of the objects. If the surface material, rubbing speed, or pressure are different between the contactor and the contacted objects, the induced phenomena are different between them. For presenting high-quality tactile sensations, we should collect and analyze all data under these various conditions. Some research projects are carried out for collecting the data from real objects. For example, Swiss et al. Collected 6 types of data for about 100 types of textures via pen-type sensing device. And Adbrail et al. Made a device that had an accelerometer and pressure sensor, and they collected data about the surface of the textures using the robot and with the device. These projects collected a lot of types of data and various kinds of conditions. However, they limited the conditions of contact, for example, number of textures, rubbing speeds, pressures, and so on. This is because there are vast amount of conditions that can't be covered by these research projects. Therefore, collecting all data under numerous combination of conditions is unrealistic. If there are conditions which are not collected, it is difficult to reproduce the tactile signal under the conditions precisely. To solve this problem, we propose a method which can substitute the data collection of tactile signal from real objects. Instead of data collection from real objects, we use machine learning to generate alternative data under different conditions from recorded data. If the method is realized, we can reduce the cost of data collection and obtain various unknown contents for vibrotactile displays. The first step of the research is to realize data generation based on the recorded vibrotactile acceleration. The acceleration can be used as output signal for some vibrotactile displays. Also, the data collection of acceleration is the easy way because there are small and cheap accelerometers. From these perspectives, using the acceleration data of vibrotactile signal for generating unrecorded data is suitable for a first step toward realizing the proposed method. To realize this data generation, we use generative adversarial networks, it called GANs. GANs are methods for generating images, but in the field of audio synthesis, some researchers succeeded in generating high-quality sounds. Therefore, GANs have the capability of generating high-quality time series data such as acceleration. In addition, depending on the network configuration, GANs can generate unrecorded data. We will introduce the framework of GANs. GANs are composed of two models, generator and discriminator. The generator generates data, and the discriminator classifies the generated data and training data. The discriminator is trained to classify the two types of data accurately. The generator is trained to generate data that the discriminator cannot classify. After the repetitive training of the generator and the discriminator, the generator can generate data that is almost the same as training data. We had the data generation experiment to research what kind of GAN model is suitable for data generation based on acceleration data. We used three kinds of GANs. These GANs have simple network. At first, we generated data based on one kind of recorded data to examine whether models can reproduce the data. Training data were 3-axis acceleration data by rubbing the texture with a finger equipped an accelerometer. We made graphs about training data and generated data. Blue graph shows that x-axis of training data. Orange graph shows that x-axis of generated data. Vertical line shows that normalized values. Horizontal line shows that times. In this result, the generated data using waveGAN is the closest to the training data. It seems that waveGAN is the most suitable to generate the data in these GAN. We held the data generation experiment with waveGAN. We examined whether waveGAN can generate many kinds of data. Training data was 3-axis acceleration data by rubbing the line texture with a finger equipped an accelerometer. waveGAN is unsuitable for generating many types of data. Therefore, we made combined waveGAN with conditional GAN in this experiment. Conditional GAN can generate a class-specified data by attaching each class label to the training data when it is trained. Thus, we combined waveGAN with conditional GAN. We will explain the architecture of our GAN. The architecture is mostly the same as waveGAN. We will explain the different points from waveGAN. First, we adjusted the input layer for inputting 3-axis acceleration. Second, the input data are combined with the label data. Third, we use Reiki ReLU as the activation function in the generator. Last, we use the weight initialization method of He et al. To each convolution layer in both models. We collected 3-axis acceleration data by rubbing the 9 textures with a finger equipped to an accelerometer. The experimenter wore an accelerometer on his index finger and rubbed the textures in one direction for 6 seconds at a speed of about 5 cm/s. This correction task done 80 times per texture. In this experiment, we use the hyperparameters that are shown by the table. We trained the model for 40 epochs, and it took about 46 hours to finish the training tasks. We found that we succeeded in training the model quickly using the general-purpose GPU and the PC. It is difficult to evaluate whether the generated data reproduced the training data. The earlier evaluation methods only can compare several GAN models relatively. At the present stage, we use 2 qualitative evaluation methods. First method is comparison of spectrograms between the training data and generated data. We use the method to validate whether the generated data has characteristics of the training data. Second, we presented vibrotactile stimuli to users. We use the method to validate how realistic the generated vibrotactile stimuli are. We will describe examples of the result. This figure shows that 3 examples from all classes. Three spectrograms of the left show training data, and the other is generated data. In this result, the generated data appears the same as the training one. For example, the generated data about the tile level shows almost the same characteristics of training data. Therefore, we found that the model can generate data effectively. Also, we held a user study to evaluate the quality of the generated data. We used the collected data as training data, and we used almost the same task design as Ujtoko's. The user study has two tasks. First, we had the discrimination task. In this task, we validated whether the participants could distinguish bibliotactile stimuli based on the generated data from training data. The closer the accuracy of this task is 50%, the more effective the model generated the data. Second, we had the realism evaluation task. In this task, we validated how realistic the generated bibliotactile stimuli are. The closer the bibliotactile stimuli based on the generated data was the one based on training data, the more effective the model learns the characteristics of the data. We use the display proposed by Saga et al. In this user study. It has a finger pad for placing finger, and the pad is connected to 4 motors set on each corner of the tablet with threads. It can present the vibration by winding the threads as bibliotactile stimuli. It can control the x-axis vibration and y-axis vibration independently. We will explain the procedure of the study. First, participants conducted the discrimination task. Second, participants performed the evaluation task. At last, participants inputted the answer of the tasks into the PC. Next, we will introduce the process of the task. First, we will explain discrimination task. Participants are requested to lab the predefined paths. A or B presented the stimulus based on training data, and the other presented the stimulus based on generated data. They moved the finger from left to right with 5 cm seconds. By following to the movement of the bottom bar, participants moved the finger approximately 5 cm in 1 second. After that, they had to point out which stimulus was the generated one. Second, we will explain realism evaluation task. Participants were requested to compare the real texture with the reproduced one. The participants labeled the real texture that was reproduced by the bibliotactile display, and they expressed the degree of realism for each stimulus by using 100 mm visual analog scale lighting. At last, participants inputted the answers via the interface on PC. Participants answered which stimulus was generated one. Also, they answered the reality of the bibliotactile stimuli. The answers are collected by 100 mm of visual analog scale lighting. We held these tasks 10 times for each texture. 10 subjects took part in the study. The study took about 1 hour for each participant. We will describe the result of the study. First, we will describe the result of the discrimination task. This graph shows the accuracy of the discrimination task. The horizontal axis shows each texture, and the vertical axis shows accuracy. The closer the value was 50%, the more effective the model generated data. The value was almost 50% in all textures. Thus, it appears that the participant failed to distinguish the training data from the generated data. Therefore, the model can be likely to generate data that is close to acceleration data from training data. Next, we will describe the result of the realism evaluation task. This graph shows that the evaluation value of the visual analog scale. The horizontal axis shows each texture, and the vertical axis shows the evaluation value. In this graph, the value of the generated data was almost the same as the training one. We used student paired t-test to each texture condition and revealed that there were no significant differences. Therefore, we found that bibliotactile stimuli using the generated data had high reality like the training data. Our model succeeded in generating the 3-axis time series data that reproduced recorded data. As a next step, we evaluate whether the model can generate unrecorded data. We will evaluate whether the model can generate unrecorded data by controlling the input level. For example, we merge the two input levels in this test. We will explain the settings of the test. We use the collected data for training data. The input level is one hot vector. The vectors have values of either 0 or 1, and their lengths are the same as the number of classes. Each class vector has a value of 1, and all others have the value of 0. Before we generated data for placemat03, we matched the label for data generation based on tile with a placemat03 input level. We held the experiment using tile and placemat03 because generated data based on these textures had striking characteristics. We will explain the result of the test. In the input level, the index of placemat03 and tile were set between 0 to 1. The right figure shows the result of this experiment. In the experiment, the more the value of the placemat03 level increased, the more the characteristic of these data was mixed. Therefore, the model is likely to generate unrecorded data if we operate the input level. As a future work, we will research what kind of data the model can generate by controlling the levels. At last, we will introduce related work. Few research projects generate data for tactile displays using GANs. Ujitoko et al. Proposed a GAN model that generates time series data related to texture images. This model is composed of two models, encoder and the generator. The encoder encodes texture images into a label vector. The generator generated spectrograms using GANs trained with recorded acceleration and the label. They encoded the spectrogram into tactile signal for pen-type vibrotactile displays. The model can generate 9 types of data. They succeeded in generating high-quality time series data using GANs. However, generated data is only available for simple tactile displays, for example, pen-type displays. Our model can generate 3-axis time series data. Also, the model has a large number of neural networks. It appears that the proposed model needs large computational resources. But our model is smaller than the model, and our model has the same performance as the model. We will explain the conclusion. We succeeded in generating high-quality time series data using the simple GAN model. The model can generate 3-axis time series data, and we succeeded in training the model quickly. In the result of the user study, vibrotactile stimuli using the generated data had high reality, like the training data. As a result of the preliminary experiment, the model is likely to generate unrecorded data if we change the input level. In the future, we will research what kind of data the model can generate by controlling the levels. Thank you for your kind attention.